guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome. Following on from the success of my little scraps rubber powered free flight model, I've decided just to make one more small model before I get back onto the Mercury 4 build. And this one is called the Hangar Rat. It's quite an old design now, but very successful. It's the rubber power. So what I've done, I've actually scaled the plan up to about 160%. And I'm going to make it radar control, but I'm going to make it slightly different radar control. I'm not going to whole hog. I'm just going to do throttle and possibly rudder. It'll go up when I open the throttle. It saves the complication of an elevator, which is great. And it's, you know, like single channel really, isn't it? Which is a bit of fun. Here's the plan. Let me turn you down. So it's a very, very basic design. Stick fuselage, a couple of sticks to support the wing. I think there's one each side of the center ribs actually, and well, I'm not sure. And very basic framework. The wing section is this rib here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. And the ribs themselves aren't total ribs. They're just the root ribs are complete ribs. The other 5 ribs are just the outline, if you like, which I did on these scraps. I'm going to start the wing, and I'm going to find I've got a little board with a linear servo on it. The motor it might be pushing my luck at flying a model at this size, but we'll have a go. It really won't, you know, it's not designed to fly fast or anything like that. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm going to start by cutting out the rib shapes like I did with the scraps, and I'll come back to you very soon. Cheers. I put 2 pencil marks where the rib ends each side, so it's just a matter of cutting. First of all, I have to cut this way because that's the length of the rib, but what I might do is to just cut them all together in one go. So I'm just going to cut, how many is it? Forgot, never mind. So let's start. I do like this method of cutting wing ribs. It's rather good. Let's make them about 3/16 or say 4 mil if you want to do it in millimeters. The leading edge is going to be reasonably soft wood anyway, and most of it will be sanded away. I'm only going to set this up by eye. It's quite important to get this line accurate because it's the underneath of one rib and the top of the next rib. So I'm just going to move this down. Actually, I suppose I could measure that distance and put a little mark all the way down, couldn't I? Let me do that and I'll cut those out, and then I'll end up with, or another method, which is to overlay this on top of that. Okay, let's do that. So it will mean just cutting this one rib out in its entirety. I know before you guys have said, or some of you guys have said, how you enjoy listening to my thought processes. It might not always be the right answer to the, look at that, beautiful, the right answer to the query. There's always, as we all know, loads of ways of doing the same job. So let's just put that like that. Do you know, I've actually got the wrong glasses on, but I'm going to persist. Push that up to there, push that down to there. That should give me a pretty much identical wing rib. Don't try and go through all in one go. You're not going to do it. So I'm going to continue on down, and I'll be back a few minutes. I'll just cut through them all. Yes, look at that. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 identical wing ribs. That'll make life really easy when I come to assemble it, cutting them like that all in one go. Very nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Weigh in. Very, very little indeed. Good. Okay. All I need to do now is cut out a leading and trailing edge, and I can put some polythene over the plan and assemble it up. I found a couple of pieces of wood, 8 by 3/16, which I'll use for the trailing edge, and that'll go in there nicely. Yeah, and I've got a piece of 8 by slightly less than 3/16. It's just the way it's been cut, but it suits me to use it. I'll use for the leading edge. Okay, now I'm going to start by pinning down this trailing edge. Could go through it, it's quite big, so let's give it a go. The thinner stuff you can't because it splits, but I think I'll get away with this. See how quickly it builds, don't you? It's a real quick way of building with these ribs, and there's no main spar. There's a strut that goes up to the leading edge from the bodywork. In fact, I think it possibly should be 2 struts, but that's what supports the wing. So let me assemble this, guys, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's the ribs in. I think I'm going to put, I know there's gussets down there, but I'm going to put a pair of very small gussets up to the top corners. It's not going to add any weight to speak of, but it will add a lot of strength. I've made some gussets, 1 for each corner. I've angled these down, of course, to fit. The easiest way to put these in is just make a pool of CA and very quickly soak it up and push it in. Yeah, see that rib should, that gusset should have been at an angle. Okay guys, I'll build the other wing, trim it down, and I'll be back to you then. This is the other wing which I started. This one's slightly different insofar as I built it this time with white glue instead of super glue, because I'm interested to see how the weight changes. 2.33. Let's weigh the other one, got it here. This is with super glue. 2.33. But then we're talking about such a small amount of actual gluing that I've done that probably wouldn't make that much difference, but it's exactly the same. So I've got these bits of wood here, and the rudder I'm going to put maybe, say something like that, be plenty, ideal. So I need 2 bits of wood there, 1 to form the leading edge of the rudder, 1 to form the trailing edge. So let me cut out all these bits and I'll be back shortly. Yes sir, shortly. This is the thin trailing edge. Okay, so I need to put a upright in there. That will become the rudder leading edge. Drop that in there. I like to put a little bit on each side before I put it in. 1 hinge pin in there, 1 in the centre and 1 at the top. The hinge pin, by the way, is going to be fishing line, as I normally do. Put weight on that, keep it all down. A lot on there. Okay. Let's put a couple of weights on there to hold things down a bit, and we'll let that dry and come back to it when it is dry. It's a quick build, guys, that's for sure. Next thing is going to be the fuselage, which I'll make out of possibly 1/4 inch, I suppose, by sort of 1/2 inch. Still got to cut the cabane struts. I do have to sand the leading and trailing edges. I think it was a good move putting gussets in the top corners as well. I think it will be, because it's a little bit, as you can see, and then I've got to put also some struts, wing struts, to hold it up. Got to cut those. If you're enjoying the video, hit the subscribe button down below. If you're not subscribed, no reason why you shouldn't be. And if you really want to push the boat out, hit the bell button as well, and you get notified, apparently. So memberships start at just £1 a month, and it helps to support the channel. So if you'd like to have a look at that, that would be appreciated. But in the meanwhile, let's let this glue dry, and I'll see you back very soon. I've sanded the leading edges and trailing edge of the wings and the tailplane, and I've just found this fantastic piece of reasonably hard 1/4 inch. Well, it might even be, yeah, 1/4 inch, and it's about 3 or 4 centimeters. That's 1.5 inches longer than I actually need for the fuselage. So what I'm just doing is tapering it down towards the tail end, save a bit of tail end weight. And with a few swift strokes of the scalpel, as I said, it is fairly hard balsa. I think having sanded the wings, you remember one's made with PVA and the other one's made with CA. The one with CA did break a couple of places where it's joined, so not such a brilliant glue. So I think from now on I should be using PVA. Okay, not bad. That would be the fuselage like that. Now I'm going to organise the cabane struts. I'm going to put one each side of the 1/16 rib, so they've got to be 1/8 inch apart. This is 1/4 inch, so I have to make a indent in the wood of 1/16 each side. I'll mark them off like this, but I haven't decided yet what I'm going to make the cabanes out of. I've cut these slots in it, and the slots will take this 3/16 square, and that'll leave an 1/8 inch gap. Leave an 1/8 inch gap in the middle. That'll go either side of the doubled up ribs for the center section. So all I've got to do now is to cut the cabane struts, and I can glue that assembly up with the crossbar. Like that. Right, so we'll let that set, and we got ourselves one cabane glued up, which is quite good. Put a weight on there, keep it in place. Okay, a little bit of progress, guys. I've glued on the wing supports. They look really chunky, actually. I was just playing with some radio gear. Here's a little servo board. One servo works, which is fine because that's all I need. I've also run the motor up, that's fine. The board I thought I would put there, you won't particularly see it, but the only thing is the undercarriage, which I've bent up, is designed to go there. It can go further forward, just goes over the body. It's a bit might have to pack it slightly, but that sits there like that. But maybe just glue the board there like that, and I mean that's pretty much, the CG is just behind here. I do have the battery and the motor, so the battery, if necessary, I can move it further back. It's all a bit of an unknown at the moment. So I've hinged the rudder earlier on. Oh, it's slot free, but it's just 3 small pieces of fishing line. This isn't the fishing line I normally use. This is about, I would say, 0.8 millimeter. What's that, about 32nd, maybe less. So there's 3 in there. If it's too stiff, I can always cut the middle one if the servo seems like it's struggling. Did I show you the wings? I've sanded the wings, got the leading edge down to some sort of section, so it'll come together very quickly, and then when it has come together, then I can join the wings and then finally glue them up into this gap here, the required place where I've got the pencil markings about there. And then I can think about making some outriggers to support the wings. So the next thing, and the motor I thought can sit right on top, so I'll have to make up a little mount of some sort. Maybe if how about this, if I cut a recess in here to take the half the motor, and then a couple of little supports either side, I can just sit on there then. Yeah, that'll do. A little angle there for the wires coming out the back, like that, and then 2 little supports either side, just supporting it. Then I'll just glue it on, hot glue possibly, because that's what I've used before on that. Just dremeled that out a bit and bathed it in CA, so as I'm going to hot glue this into position. That will go in there like that. I'll give it a little bit of right thrust. I'm not worried about down thrust because I want the model to climb under power, and because I haven't got an elevator, so that would be my form of climbing. But I'm just going to pop a little bit of hot glue on the 2 shoulders there and just drop that into position. Okay, I'll just pop that into keeping it off of the gears, most important. Put that on there and hold it. It's an easy way of fitting stuff these days, isn't it? And that is above the tailplane line there. I'm just going to use something like a carbon rod down to the tailplane with a little support halfway. That's the plan. So that could glue in there. A little smear. Okay, that's looking good. This is the battery wire. So the battery, I could Velcro there, depends on the CG, doesn't it? Could go there. If it's tail heavy, I could put it anywhere up here. So pretty flexible there. So that's the ESC servos and motor installed just like that. Just looking at the ground clearance for the propeller, there's so much there that I think I might just rebend the undercarriage to make it smaller. It'll be a little bit lighter as well. There's no point in it being quite that big. It's only that big, I think, due to rubber motors having much bigger props. I just weighed it, by the way. It's 33 grams, quite a lot. But what I lose on the fuselage, I'll gain on the flying surfaces. I just sat that on, look for effect. There's a wheel. How did I make it? Always keep leftover stuff from old kits. So there's that there. punched out the centre, glued in a piece of dowel, cut it off flush, and then I've got a selection of O-rings. Doesn't need tyres on it, but I think they sort of finish it off a bit. And I've just sort of sanded around inside the O-ring. So I was going to put these little bearings inside them, but it's hardwood dowel and I think it's going to be okay. So I'm just going to crudely run some CA in around here like that. I'll do both sides. Give it a quick wipe off, and there we are, two little wheels. I was just wondering how I could stop the wheels from running up the main undercarriage leg because they're going around the corner. Then I thought all I need is a washer which I can just CA in place. So I thought I haven't got any small washers, and I thought perhaps I could make some. So all I've done is to drill a hole down through the end of this piece of doweling, and I'm slicing them off, and it ends up with a little wooden washer. I've got one on this wheel already. It's not perfect, but it's just a washer. That'll just stop the wheel from riding up the undercarriage leg. I'll put another one on the outside, and I've got two little, they look rather nice being wooden. Okay, these O-rings on the tyres I bought from Lidl's. They sort of go up in 1/2 mil sizes, so you can always find a O-ring that will fit what you want. So there we are on its wheels. Lovely, perfect. I found a piece of carbon that will just long enough for the push rod. It's 2 mil heavier than it needs to be, but it'll do the job. It won't flex and it won't need a support halfway down, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, I'm really pleased with those wheels. They look nice, don't they? Nice and natural. Hangar Rat. Some of you will have seen this on the community tab. If you don't look at my community tab, you're missing out, guys. Check it out. Anyway, some of you will have seen this. I've just put it up as a clue as to what this model is, because it's a rat. It's the Hangar Rat, and that'll sit about there. I've just pin pricked it out through the plan just to cut it out of balsa wood, and I'm going to sit that one there right now. Hopefully I don't knock it off. I'm going to just pop a couple of blobs of there on, and he sits about there. Like that. So Mr. Hangar Rat, I don't know, a model without a pilot just doesn't look right to my eyes. Even if it's a ratty pilot, he looks much better. Hopefully, as I say, you won't get knocked off. I deliberately did the grain vertical because if it's horizontal, then obviously it would snap really easily. So, and I've just used a felt tip to put on the eye and nose and stuff, and then I just bathed it in CA just to sort of seal it all in, and to give the wood a little bit more strength. So I'm going to stop there, guys. This video is getting quite long as usual. I've cut out lots of bits, but you know, I like to leave a lot of it in. Part 2 will be the covering, and I'm going to be using this. It's very, very heavy, as you can see. So it's just little bags you put in your kitchen waste box. So that's what I'm going to be using for covering. I'm going to use this spray adhesive for fixing it, and it'll be another fantastic video. I've included a finished picture of the model at the front of this video to give you an idea of what we're aiming towards. So I'll see you in part 2, which will be linked just at the end of this video, and when it's done, which won't be long. And yeah, leave us some comments. Cheers, guys. Bye.